The husband accused me of financial infidelity. Husband, 33M, and wife, 33F, have been married for 10 years and together since college. Since the beginning, we have prioritized financial security and have been successful, albeit with some luck along the way. We both have solid jobs, near to $200,000 apiece. Student loans were paid off within a few years, both attended state schools with scholarships and did not have much debt to begin with. We live in a house I inherited from my grandmother, no mortgage, and we have no credit card debt. We maxed out our 401(k)s and now have 18 months of expenses in our emergency fund, which we are continuously adding to. Our automobiles are both paid off and should last for another 5+ years, and we have no credit card debt. We manage our finances in a hybrid fashion, with joint accounts for bills and savings and separate accounts for fun money. We each receive a rather good monthly allowance. The fun money is purely for our individual spending, hobbies, clothes, excursions with friends, etc., and not for date nights, vacations, or major shared purchases such as household appliances and maintenance, which are deducted from our joint account. We also agreed that any bonuses, or side hustle income, that one of us receives will go into our individual fun money accounts, unless the funds were needed for a greater need, such as a significant home repair. In terms of fun money, my husband spends far more than I do due to expensive hobbies, particularly golf and sports memorabilia, as well as his preference for designer clothing, which is okay, it's his money. On the other hand, my hobbies are much less expensive, running/working out, reading, and baking. In general, I am more introverted, and tea with a friend at one of our homes, complete with homemade pastries, is a fantastic time for me. I've also recently returned to gaming after putting it on hold for nearly a decade while pursuing my profession. After learning I had more than enough money in my fun money account, I decided to upgrade my gaming setup and purchased a new PC, desk, and gaming chair, for a total of around $5,000. However, my spouse is outraged after learning about the transaction. He claims he had no idea I'd saved so much money and that I should have consulted him before spending $5,000. I asked what difference it made if it was my own fun money rather than our joint funds, and he insisted that accumulating this amount without his knowledge was a form of financial infidelity. He claims he has lost trust in me and is unaware of any other secrets I may be keeping. He is asking that I return the stuff I purchased and pay the majority of the monies into our joint account. He wants to implement a new rule that fun money accounts cannot accumulate more than $2,000 and that any excess is returned to the joint account, a condition that would obviously benefit him as someone who spends the majority of his allowance each month rather than saving for anything greater. I feel like I'm being punished for being a daily saver rather than a spender. It would never occur to me to demand to know how much money my husband has in his fun money account or to try to control what he spends it on. I wasn't trying to hide anything, he never questioned about it until after I'd made the purchases. Still, perhaps I should have been more open about my plans. So, Ada? Miscellaneous information, my husband and I each have our own office/hobby room in the house, so the gaming setup would not be taking up space he uses. I rarely game when my husband is home unless he is already doing something else. My most gaming time is typically spent when he is away playing golf. Also, I run 40 to 50 miles per week, so I'm not generally sedentary. I can't think of a single reason why he would object to my gaming or having a decent gaming setup in my own place at home. Here's the TLDR. Husband and I, 33M/33F, have a fairly high income, about $200K/year each, own our home free and clear, and have no other debts of any kind. We save nearly half of our income and most of our finances are joint, but we set aside $1,500 per month each, plus any extra income from bonuses or side hustles, for fun money, for hobbies, luxury goods, outings with our own friends who aren't together, etc. Husband spends his fun money month to month because his hobbies are expensive, mainly golf, but I save the majority of mine because my interests are less expensive, running and baking. I've recently gotten back into gaming, and after saving up more than enough of my fun money, I spent $5,000 on a new gaming setup, as well as a really great desk and chair. Husband stormed up and accused me of financial infidelity, despite the fact that I was following what I believed were our agreed-upon norms by spending my own designated fun money on hobbies. My spouse finally relaxed enough to have a discussion with me. Many others who commented noted that it wasn't truly about the money, but rather a reflection of broader flaws in our relationship. Basically, my spouse has been progressively angry with me for a while, for the following reasons. In general, he believes he is much more committed to his professional advancement than I am to mine. Although we presently have nearly the same salary, his field, financial, has a much higher ceiling than mine, tech/software development. He is currently enrolled in an executive training program, while I am not. He is bitter that he has to work long hours in a high-pressure atmosphere, but I get to work largely at home doing something that is enjoyable and relatively easy for me, and I am not pushing myself to accomplish more. He is anxious that these resentments will grow with time, and that I will not be able to contribute financially if he advances in his job and I do not. He mentioned that since returning to gaming a few months ago, I've been putting in a little less effort when it comes to cooking. It is true that I have been preparing simpler dinners, such as grilled chicken salads or chili with cornbread, rather than complex feasts with fussier ingredients and multiple sides. He's also noticed that I haven't been doing the elaborate table settings I used to do, with flowers on the table, nice placemats, etc. I had no idea he noticed or cared about this, but he evidently does. Acts of service are one of his primary love languages, thus he feels slightly neglected as a result. He also thinks I don't put enough work into my looks. Not in terms of weight/body, I'm a long-distance runner with a lean build, but in terms of clothing, hair, and so on. True, I've never paid much attention to these things. Given that I work from home in technology, the expectation for appearances is really minimal, and I well exceed it. I buy simple, utilitarian clothes at Target and Walmart, wear minimal makeup, and wear my hair in a simple ponytail. I dress up a lot more for date nights and other nice occasions, but most days he gets home from work and finds me in a t-shirt and yoga pants with no makeup, and he wants me to put in more effort. The bottom line is that as a result of all of this, he is becoming more interested in other women. He claims he has not cheated and is simply noticing other people because he is consistently disappointed in me. Given that he works in finance, there are a lot of career-oriented, type A women who have amazing bodies, are effortlessly polished and glam, and have more interesting hobbies. He also claims he feels terrible about everything because he knows I'm a decent guy and that he's being judgmental, that it's not so much that I've changed as that his own objectives and expectations have shifted over the last few years. The financial infidelity component came into play since he believes I'm not investing enough in myself and our relationship, thereby cheating on our future. He also says he loves me enough to be honest. I feel he isn't trying to hurt me. I had to pry all of this out of him. He doesn't want us to drift apart any further. He doesn't want to be angry or resentful, and he understands he's asking a lot. I know many on this sub may think I should just tell him to take a hike and call my lawyer, but we've been married for 10 years, we've invested a lot in the relationship, and I want to see if the marriage can be saved. So, just a few things. First, we scheduled an appointment with a marriage counselor to begin next week. In addition, I intend to attempt at least some of the aforementioned tasks. I'm not sure about pushing myself to be more professionally ambitious when I'm already content with my work-life balance and we're financially secure, but I can at least try to do the other things, return to spending more time on cooking and decor, and dress myself up a little when he gets home from work, now that I know they're important to him. I also understand that in the end, I may feel like I'm just tiptoeing around and contorting myself to please him, but it won't cost me much, certainly less than a divorce, to try for a month or two and see how we both feel. And I know I would always regret not trying. So, while this may not be the update you expected or hoped for, it is where things stand. And if people are still interested, I can provide an update once we have begun marriage counseling and I have a sense of how the changes are progressing. Edit, I need to call it a night, but I want to thank everyone for their responses. They were eye-opening and helped me realize that I deserve better than the way I am being treated, and that the expectations my husband has set for me are unfair and unrealistic, especially since he is doing nothing to make it easier for me to meet them or to show me that he values my efforts and everything I bring to the table. I am indeed conditioned to be very people-pleasing, and this influences what I believe is reasonable here. I have a lot to think about, such as, what do I truly want here? What will make me happy, especially if I have to constantly shrink, metaphorically speaking, and contort myself to please my husband? Do I really want to be married under those circumstances? I believe I am undervaluing myself if I simply agree to the majority of his demands. I'm still going to the marriage counseling appointment, but I think I'll wait until we can get some professional advice before making any other changes. He was actually upset that he feels I'm not professionally ambitious enough because I'm not on the executive track like he is, and that, despite my working full-time, he wanted me to cook fancier meals, set the table in a more elegant way, and dress up more for dinner, yes, like a 1950s housewife. So, the more I thought about it, the more his wishes or demands actually bothered me. I decided to do a small experiment over the weekend to see what happened if I attempted to accommodate some of his expectations. Not because I thought they were reasonable, but because I increasingly felt like the goalposts were moving and I was playing a losing game. So, on Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a makeover before heading to the farmer's market to get fresh flowers for our table and other tasty items. Saturday is usually our date night, but I suggested we stay in so I could prepare a special steakhouse dinner, lobster bisque, bread basket with various types of rolls/savory muffins made from scratch, crab-stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon, au gratin potatoes, white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I donned a lavender sheath dress, his favorite color, on me, with high heels and complete hair and makeup. For all that, I received a lukewarm thanks, it was tasty, and a kiss on the cheek. Of course, I did all the serving and cleaning. We generally go out on Sundays, but he suggested I make brunch for us at home. So I cooked French press coffee, mimosas with freshly squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with bananas Foster topping, eggs scrambled with Parmesan and garden herbs, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless sundress, wedge sandals, and repeated my hair and makeup. Again, I received a thanks, it's good, and no assistance with serving or cleanup. Afterward, I inquired as to whether this was what he had in mind when he previously critiqued me. He stated it was a start, but I was acting very entitled and wanting credit for basic adulting. He then revealed that he was being so hard on me because he had recently discovered I had a lot to make up for as a low-value woman. I inquired what he meant by it, and he explained that it was because I wasn't a virgin when we met. Remember, we started dating at 21, and none of us claimed to be virgins or set that as an expectation. Except for extremely devout people, neither of us are. I don't believe most 21-year-old college students are virgins. I told him right away that I'd had 2 past partners, my high school boyfriend, we split up when we went to different colleges in different regions of the nation, and another boyfriend from my first year of college. That's it, both committed relationships, nothing casual. He went on to add that because of my poor value, I'd have to make it up to him for the rest of my life. I didn't deserve monogamy or equal treatment, and I felt grateful that anyone wanted to marry me at all. And he's connected with someone at work, so if I want to keep him, I'd best step up. I told him there wasn't much to retain if he no longer loved me, or even liked or respected me. I told him to go, and he claimed he'd gladly go to his girlfriend's apartment. I know so many people here insisted he was having an affair, and I simply didn't want to see it, that all of his complaints were part of a strategy to separate himself from me. I feel so silly for assuming he was having a tough time at work or that he actually wanted to work on our marriage. Anyway, I've taken the week off from work to clear my thoughts. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. I canceled my marriage counseling appointment but was referred to an individual therapist who may meet with me later this week for an initial session. He, and his girlfriend, allegedly, are coming this evening to grab more of his clothes and belongings, so I'll have to brace myself. Also, please know that I do not consider myself to be of poor value. I allowed my husband to make me think less of myself on some levels for a brief while, but now I realize it was a him problem. Obviously, we do not share the same aims and ideals, and he has evolved into someone I do not recognize. I know the divorce will not be pleasant or simple, but I will be fine. Thank you all for pointing out that I was being duped before I wasted any more time in a marriage that was already over. Ada, for informing my brother's girlfriend that he had a vasectomy while she was talking about their plans to settle down and start a family. My brother, Mark, 40, won the lotto when he was 20. It cost $1,000 each week for life. He was young and aspired to travel. He dropped out of school and has spent the majority of his adult life traveling the world. He comes home to visit every couple years, and we FaceTime him when he is near a signal. He does not travel first class or stay in pricey resorts, thus he has amassed some significant savings. He returned home this year with his girlfriend, Haley, who is 28 years old. They met while they were stuck in South America during the outbreak. She has been traveling since she graduated from university, and she works from her laptop. I, F54, reside in the same city where I was born. I adore it here. I enjoy being close to my parents and grandchildren. And most of my siblings. Mark despised being the youngest of 8 siblings and vowed never to have children. Our parents were older when they had him, and they didn't have the energy for him, to be honest. When Mark was 30, he came home and informed everyone that he had had a vasectomy and would no longer be adding to the global population. Haley is quite little, but she is also intelligent and sweet. I understand why someone might fall in love with her. We were holding a family barbecue to celebrate Mark's arrival in town. There were maybe 30 people in my parents' yard and house. I was discussing Haley's future intentions now that the world had reopened. She stated that she was prepared to settle down and start a family. I asked if they planned to adopt from one of the nations they had visited or if they would attempt in North America. She stated they had discussed it and would have at least one child of their own. This could be where I screwed up. I inquired as to where Mark's vasectomy was reversed and whether they were undergoing in vitro fertilization. I understand they can extract sperm from a testicle even after a vasectomy. She went extremely quiet and approached Mark. They spoke and then departed. Mark contacted me later that night and screamed at me for wrecking his life. He hadn't told her, and he planned to continue traveling and even adopt if they choose to do so. He said I disclosed private medical information and that he never wanted to see me again. I apologized repeatedly. I had no idea he was planning a future with this girl without first informing her that a significant piece of the puzzle was missing. Ada, for refusing to donate my kidney to my dying sister because she dated my high school bully? Throw away since it contains a lot more personal information than I want on my main, although all of the names are fictitious. Also, face the mobile formatting. I am a 35-year-old gay male. When I was in high school, Darren bullied me horribly. I won't go into detail, but it was extremely terrible, far above ordinary high school dutchabagery. In my sophomore year, I made the mistake of coming out to one of my friends, who quickly disseminated the word across the school. Before this, Darren had targeted me for being unathletic and wearing spectacles, as well as a handful of other students, but after I was outed, it was only me, and just because of my gender identification. After high school, I moved away to college. I developed friends, even gained a boyfriend, and had almost forgotten about Darren until one Thanksgiving, when my sister Ellie brought home her boyfriend, Darren. No kidding, the first thing he said when he saw me was, "Damn Ellie, you didn't tell me your brother's a fag." Ellie kicking laughed, as did my father. I was surprised, but instead of yelling or starting a fight, I stood up and walked away. After the fact, my family tried to play it off as Darren joking since he was frightened meeting the family, but they informed me that he and Ellie were serious and that I needed to get over it. I basically told them all that I wouldn't be attending any events where Darren was. In private, I informed Ellie that knowing what Darren had done to me, I was devastated that she would date him. She basically labeled me overly sensitive and said she had the right to date whomever she wants, which she does. Since then, I've been placing distance between myself and my family, who appear to have welcomed Darren into the fold. My mother recently informed me that Ellie was in the hospital and required a kidney transplant. The rest of the family had been tested and none of them could donate, so my mother wanted me to get tested because I am her full brother and have a high possibility of matching. The fact is, after all these years, Ellie is essentially a stranger to me. If I did this, I'd have to drive 3 states back to my hometown, lose out on who knows how much work, and give up a bit of my flesh, all for the woman who dated and finally married the guy who made my high school years a nightmare. When I told my mother that I wouldn't be tested, she freaked out over the phone. I hurriedly hung up on her, but not before she accused me of being vengeful and a monster for refusing to save my sister. I admit, I feel guilty about it. Ada for telling my pregnant 19-year-old daughter that she needed to move out as soon as possible. My daughter Rose, 19, has always been a bright young lady. She excelled in school and received a full scholarship to a fantastic local school. She's been living with me, attending school, and doing well. She had a new boyfriend a few months ago, who I dislike. I can smell the BS. He constantly disappoints her but hides it with a broad smile and lofty promises. Despite my cautions, they are still dating, and she is now pregnant. I volunteered to pay for the abortion and take a few days off from work to accompany her and assist her recovery. She said no. She is going to marry her partner, and they will form a large happy family. He wants to move into my house, and she will drop out of school while he works to support the family. He's a bartender who doesn't attend college. I made fun of this idea, which irritated her. She said that since he can't move in, I'll have to step up and help with the baby more. Y'all, she has always been a really clever child. I'm not sure where this all came from. I just informed her that if she believes she is mature enough to have and raise a child and marry, she needs to move out soon and manage being an adult with the child's father. I raised the only child I wanted. I don't want any more children living in my house. I informed her that while I will pay for diapers here and there and continue to visit her, this baby is not my duty. If she chooses adoption, which I doubt she will, I am willing to assist her in navigating the process. She won't speak to me. My spouse, her stepfather, is staying out of this, but he believes I could help more. I told him he was welcome to go over and babysit for her, which shut him up lol. Ada? Edit, I gave birth to my daughter at the age of 19. I was married to her father, who served in the military. I graduated college on schedule at the age of 22, and everything was going well for us until he perished in the army. I believe that the fact that things went well for me is clouding my daughter's judgment. Her filthy partner can't even provide health insurance for her or her child. This is a very different scenario. Also, many of you have suggested that I let her live with me and keep the baby. This is not happening. I don't want a baby in my house, period. And I'm not babysitting. I'll attend birthday parties and buy gifts on occasion, but that's about it. Ada for informing my husband that if he battles for custody of his children, I will divorce him. I 27F am completely child-free, sterilized, and have no intention of having or caring for any children. I married my spouse, 33M, last year and had no idea he had any children until 5 days ago. I travel for work for myself, and earn great money for very few active working hours. I am a honeymoon planner and operate my own business. We have a joint account for expenses and separate accounts for savings and fun money. My husband sat me down 5 days earlier and admitted he hadn't been totally honest with me. And disclosed that he had 2 children, 10M and 7F. He pays regular child support, but it depletes his fun money, and he wants to be able to have fun like I do, so he says he will fight for 50-50 custody. I was upset that he had lied to me, and I was even angrier when he said he wanted 50-50. He works 12 to 16-hour shifts as a nurse, which means I would have to care for the children while I am not working or working from home. I told him that if he fought for custody, I would leave him. We have a prenup, so a divorce will be quite simple. I will retain 100% of my business, all of my savings and fun money, and the house, which I got from my grandmother. He called me an asshole and told me I needed to step up so he could increase his savings and have more fun. And because the children's ages will make them less of a hassle. So, AITA for warning him I would divorce him if he filed for custody? Edit/update. Thank you everyone so much for assisting me with this matter. I felt his falsehoods were enough of a reason to divorce, and I'm pleased to report, soon to be ex. I really didn't know if divorcing him with children would make me an asshole, especially given how hard he works. He has since left my residence. I've spoken with my lawyer and am filing for an annulment. I can because he married me fraudulently. The AMA protects me since it was a false marriage. Thank you all again. Would I be the aught if I texted my husband's best friend, female, to see how she responded? My hubby had a great friend from college. I had never had a problem with her until my wedding a month ago, when my maid of honor overheard her telling another friend of theirs that she has him when she wants him after the friend mocked her about losing him and he being the one who got away. I informed my husband about it a few days ago. I didn't want to ruin our honeymoon, but it was still on my mind, but he denied that anything transpired between them. He said it very calmly. Is it almost too calm? I have no proof, but I trust him. Until I used his phone after mine died. He was driving, and I was creating a playlist on his phone. Then I checked his iMessages, and he had no thread with her. I mean, I know for certain that they text. Nothing. I didn't say anything, but last night I literally saw her name appear among the texts. When he went to bed, I checked, and there were no texts. He's eliminating them. My question is, if I ask, will he deny it? I need to know, and I need proof. Would I be the AH if I started a conversation with her as if I were my husband and asked what was going on?